Trevor here for Love Make Share. In the den for a change, ignore the mess, we got a toddler. If you've been following me on social media at all, you will know that I'm kind of a fan of 3D modeling and printing badges from Star Trek. Like, kind of, I'm a fan. I like it. Even the new ones for the show that hasn't come out yet, kind of a fan. Discovery Season 4 is premiering here in Canada in about 30 minutes. And we are a few weeks now into Star Trek Prodigy, which the family and I love. I don't have the badge from Prodigy modeled yet, which is a tragedy because I had the Picard Season 2 stuff modeled like the minute the trailers were out. So let's take a quick look at the Prodigy badges and see if we can, in 30 minutes before the show premieres, get it modeled. So, gonna hop into Fusion 360, we're gonna look at some reference, and hopefully this will be a process that is replicable for you at home. Wait for it. Okay, so TrekCore has helped me out with some screenshots. So we got Captain Janeway here. We got her with the badge. Analyzing this a little bit, it's large, but it's not bigger than some of the other ones that we've had. This one that Rock is wearing, it really emphasizes the fact that the right-hand arm on the Delta is shorter than the left-hand one. All right, so if I look at this, I'm gonna make a couple of assumptions here. One of them being that, can I actually turn this with a mouse? There we go. I'm going to assume that this line here is straight up and down, right? Whereas this one, and I'm emphasizing this a little bit, this line looks like it's on a curve. So this half star, yeah, I think this is going to go straight up and down. This is going to be on a curve. What else am I going to observe about this real quick? Again, I'm on the clock here because I want to watch the show as soon as it comes out. The curve is more pronounced at the top. It's not a gradual curve. It curves in quite a lot at the top. This one is much shallower. So this arm is long, this arm is short. This edge of the half star really does come almost all the way to the side. So we got a big curve, we got a shallow curve, we got a long arm, we got a short arm, we got a straight up and down line, and we got an angled line of the star element here that's superimposed over top. Now, I'm not going to be too fastidious about measurements on this. The reason being is because unlike something like the Discovery badge, where I could take a lot of human reference at the time, this is one, like these ones I did when the show was on before they released any of the official collectibles or whatever. With those, I could take characters like, say, Doug Jones or Sonequa Martin Green, actors whose height is known, and I could do a little bit of math and get a pretty decent general idea of how big something was going to be. In animation, I don't trust them not to resize the badge for every single character. So I'm going to guess that, again, it's a little bit shorter than the Picard badge, which if I go here, my Picard Season 2 badge is, oh, she's big. It's 75 millimeters, 75 and change millimeters tall. I think I'm going to go for, let's see, let's compare it to my Lower Decks badge. I'm going to call it 70 millimeters. So we'll jump into Fusion 360 right now. So, blank workspace. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my face so that I'm not covering up what I'm doing. When I'm modeling like this, I will start from a sketch. So I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to create it on this plane here. This is kind of like the ground plane. So I'm looking, I can see up here that I'm looking down from the top, which is great. I'm going to draw some lines. I'm going to make construction lines so they don't actually affect the end result of what I'm drawing. I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to make a 70 millimeter line to start with. Let's take a look at my reference image again. If I come in here, say I come in here and let's do a little measurement, shall we? So this is like 5 whatever these units are tall. And it looks like this goes up by about 1. So what's 1/5 of 7? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and draw another line up from the bottom, which is 1/5 of 7, which is 1.4 centimeters or 14 millimeters. So we're going to have one of those arms come right down to the bottom. We're going to have the other one end up here. How wide is this going to be? So let's go over to our reference again. How wide is this at its widest point? It looks like about 1, 2, almost 3. Yeah, call it 2.8. .38, 38 wide in total. Yes, yes. Let's call it 40 wide. Let's round a little bit. So we'll go 20 here. This point here is where one of my arms is going to be. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do 20 out from there. You see there I've got a little right angle indicator. So it's coming out at a right angle. Okay, so I've got my main construction lines. I got a point here. I got a point here. I got a point up here. Now we can start getting into the actual shapes of it. I'm going to turn off construction lines. And I'm going to make some... What am I going to make? I'm going to make a couple of arcs. Let's do some arcs. So I'm going to start drawing an arc from this point to this point. So now this arc is always going to be connected to these points. And based on where I put this last point, it's going to draw an arc. I'm not quite getting what I want out of this, though. So let's try a different tool. There we go. So this is giving me also not what I want. I do a lot of this. So we'll do one here, call it one here, and one here. We'll end this sketch, and now we can move this point a little bit to try and get more like what we want. I like that. I think that's pretty good. That feels very similar to what we have here with the curve sharpening at the top. Okay, let's grab another spline. There we go. Do I hate that? I don't hate that. Okay, so far, so good. Let's take a look at this. So this curves quite sharply, right? And it comes up and then shoom, swooshes down. So we'll go back to Fusion. We'll create another spline. We'll kind of put this up here and connect the line. And is that good? Is that done? This needs to come a little out this way. I don't know, I'm less sold on this now that I see the shape filled in. So you can see once I complete a shape, it gets filled in, right? I'm going to tweak these a little bit, try and get a slightly more conventional Starfleet looking delta shape. Something about this is not doing it for me. I think I'm actually going to need to add an extra point to this. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line. Mostly because I'm not entirely sure how to add an extra point on the curve. Okay. So this doesn't look better yet. However, now what it does is it gives me a little bit more control to maybe come up here like that. That I like much better than what I had before. It comes down more instead of just tapering off. Next, this is where it gets fun. I'm going to finish the sketch. Haha. I'm going to select the sketch, and I'm going to go I'm going to go extrude. Let's start. Okay. So now we have a big chunky thing. Now, for a lot of these badges, what I would do now is start drawing shapes, curve to cut it this way. But this badge looks fairly round in all dimensions. You know, it's not limited to curving only along this axis or only along this axis. It's just kind of round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these outside edges, and I'll turn the camera a little bit so that we can see. And I'm just going to use the fillet tool here. And I'm going to start bringing it in. So now we have this kind of amazing curve, which is a little much. That's very chunky. Now there's a little bit of weirdness kind of in the seams here, but I have a feeling that once we get the star in place, we're actually going to hide most of that. So let's go ahead and commit that change. You know what? I don't like that. Because what I'm noticing about this is that this curve is actually quite a bit shallower than this curve. And so let's get a little bit more nuanced. We're going to fillet this. And the radius type is going to be variable, because I want this to be quite wide, and I want this to be less wide. See what I mean? You know what? I think I'm learning that I do actually want to change this a little bit. Darn it. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. We're going to draw another sketch. We're going to start on the right side here. And we're going to draw, we'll draw a sketch like this. So this is the top, this is the bottom. Here, I think an arc would be totally appropriate. And we'll go about here, we'll go about here. Sure. Sure, why not? We're also going to take a rectangle and go like this. So here's our sketch. You can see I've kind of drawn the profile here of the badge. Now there are two ways that we can cut this out, right? We can either only keep what intersects with this profile, or we can cut off what intersects with this profile. So what we're going to do here is we're going to extrude and see how it's cutting off. We're going to change the direction to symmetric, and then look at that. Look at that. We have our slightly curvy badge. So we're going to go OK. Got a nice curve in the badge now. If we go back here, you can see it starts narrow, it gets a little thicker and rounder, and then it ends narrow. This, I think, will give us a much better basis for our fillet. We'll go to fillet. We'll go variable. Now this allows me to add different points along this line where the fillet is going to change. So again, I want more up here and a little less down here. See that? So I think I do want a little bit more here. Not as much. There we go. In terms of just sheer practicality, let's try 2.5. In terms of sheer practicality, I want this bottom point to have a little bit of mass to it, because otherwise it's going to be brittle and break off. I learned that when I was resin casting some of my Discovery badges. They can get very, very delicate. All right, so I'm going to take this line. So I'm going to click. I'm going to shift click to grab the rest of that line there. and we're gonna do another fillet. Whoa, that's getting a little weird. And we're gonna go variable again. We may be in a little bit of trouble here. Oh, there we go. Fusion can get kind of weird sometimes, and there's no real rhyme or reason to why. Nope. So that's fine. Oh, this is unfortunate. So that's not something we want. Let's see. What if I just fill it here? It's weird that it snaps like that. All right. So, believe it or not, this is actually my process, is kind of messing around with it until I figure it out. So, we can either go constant or chord length here. This is unfortunate. So we're kind of back to this, eh? And I guess the question is that enough for this badge? Is that enough for this badge? Let's look at the reference. We might be able to get away with that. Is it my ideal scenario? No. Do I hate it? Also no. I don't love the way this point is, well, coming to a point, but I think we can deal. I think we can live with it. Okay, so let's commit that. Let's grab this bottom curve as well and see what we can do about adding another fillet down here. Now this, I think, is going to be... Ooh, dear. Can we make do with that? I don't know that we can. I think that looks pretty ugly, actually. Let's see. What if I just grab this? Will that work? It will not. Well, this is fun. This is what happens when you do it live, everybody. I may be able to make this work if I just soften it just a little bit. So that'll make those edges a little bit extra durable, but it will make it overall a little bit nicer. I don't love it. This is not the most accurate badge I've ever done, but in terms of doing it before the show starts, I think that's fine. All right, let's make a new sketch. We're going to start drawing the star. So we're going to go straight up the side. Call it about here. Oh, that's 89 degrees, 90 degrees. So the arm of the star doesn't go quite to the edge, but pretty darn close. So we're going to go there. And let's just go ahead and connect this. I like that. Oh, that's it. Will that do? That'll do. How wide is it? Yeah, we want to come out quite far here. Now, it has to be fairly wide because it goes right up through the point in the middle. So maybe we'll use this as, we'll actually use this point as a starting point and then come out from there. Yeah, I think that'll do. Let's do that. All right, I'm going to finish the sketch. No, I'm not. Have to edit that sketch. So I'm going to double click on the sketch in the timeline to edit it. I'm going to add a quick line right here and finish the sketch. Because now I have two closed shapes. So you remember how we extruded earlier. We're going to go ahead and extrude again. So shift click to select multiple items. All right, now here's the deal. If we go extrude, I'll rotate the camera so we can see, and just extrude, we're going to cut literally right through the object. And we don't want to do that. We want to leave some material, obviously. So what we're going to do is we're going to change where the extrusion starts. Once again, I'm going to move this kind of over here. We're going to start from an offset. So we drew the sketch on a plane. We're going to offset it by, say, 4 millimeters and see how that looks. Okay. So I don't hate it, except this clearly is not far enough. We really want to get down into that curve. So I'm going to double click on the extrusion in the timeline. Go on an angle again so that we can kind of see what we're doing up here. I'm going to change the offset to 2 millimeters. I think that'll look a bit better. Let's see. I can work with that. I may, however, want to... I'm going to see if I can... Oh, no. Press the wrong button. Just fillet this over just a little bit. We'll leave it. I think it'll be okay. Now, last feature of this, if we get rid of some of my guidelines here, you see there's some curving going on. All of these are gentle lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our fillet tool and we're going to use that on these hard edges to soften them up just a little bit. Beautiful. Do a 0.5 millimeter in here as well. Beautiful. Okay, now obviously this object is not going to be vaguely gray shiny, right? In the show, they are gold. So let's go ahead and make it look right. We're going to modify the appearance just for fun. I'm going to go to metal. I'm going to go to gold. We're going to drop some gold on here. Now, obviously, this still looks like an object in the editor. So we're going to go from the design space to the render space. And this gives us a better sense of what it'll look like when it's actually all finished. So not my most screen accurate badge, but for a half hour and a very brief introduction to Fusion, I think that'll do nicely. Hey, so I'm waiting to watch it for my wife, who has gotten unexpectedly tied up with the teen. So, what do you say we add a quick magnetic clasp to this so that when we print it out, we can actually pin it on with some magnets. Now, I tend to use 6 millimeter diameter little neodymium magnets, like 6 by 1 millimeter. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start a new sketch, and I'm going to actually select the back face of the badge. So that's great. That's what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset the outline of the badge. Check this out. So I'm going to click this curve, and then I'm going to drag it in. Sure, that'll do. -6. All right, and this is going to be the start of my magnetic clasp. Finish sketch. That's it. That's all I need to do here. So I'm going to grab this shape. I'm going to extrude. I'm going to extrude, call it 3 millimeters. Now, that's a bit much. 2.5. Why am I still here? You don't need to look at my face. I'm just kind of like, you don't need to look at that. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to go away. Bye. All right, check this out. The operation here, the type of action we're taking when we extrude this shape is set to join. And it can have a few different settings. It can be join, it can be cut, blah, blah, blah. What I want here is new body. I want this to be totally separate from this body, which is the badge. So I'm going to go OK. And you see here now I have body 1. If I click it, that's the badge. Body 2, that's the clasp. I'm going to go ahead and name these. Badge, clasp. So I want to look at this from the top. I'm going to hide the badge because now I want to draw some circles on this that I'm going to extrude out as holes to put magnets in. And I'm going to do 3 holes. So I'm going to start a new sketch. Once again, I'm going to start on this shape. So I'm going to click that. All right, so now I'm drawing on this shape. It doesn't super matter where this goes. What matters is I need about, call it 6.5 millimeter diameter. The rest will be filled with like super glue to hold the magnet in. So 6.5 millimeters, boom. I'm going to come down here, 6.5, boom, 6.5, boom. I'm going to hold shift, select all of these. Now I hold shift because if I select, and then select, and then select, nothing happens. So, you know what? Finish sketch. I keep forgetting to do that. Shift select, shift select. Okay, here's where it gets fun. So I'm going to show the badge because I want to act on both the clasp and the badge. Because both the clasp and the badge are going to have magnets in them, right? So I want to make the same cut on both sides. They're 6 by 1 millimeter magnets, so I'm going to extrude. I'm going to go 1 millimeter, right? I want it to cut, and I want the direction to be symmetric. So that one sketch, right? That one sketch with the 3 circles is going to cut both up into the badge and down into the clasp. Okay, so just for sake of seeing what's going on here, we'll move this way down. And we can just undo that after. So we'll come back to the front. And now you see there's holes cut in the clasp and holes cut in the badge. So we'll undo that move. Now this is basically ready to go as a completed object. If I want to 3D print it, I'm going to go ahead and click badge. I'm going to right click. I'm going to save it as a mesh. And from here, I can save it as, you can save it as your various flavors of 3D printable file formats. Your 3MFs, your STLs, or an OBJ. I've been saving in 3MF for no particular reason. It seems to be a more robust file format. Lychee Slicer, which I use, can ingest a 3MF file just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Okay, so we're going to go Prodigy _ Delta. I'm going to do the same with the clasp because we need one of both. Click OK. Prodigy clasp. Sweet. So now I'm in Lychee. I'm going to select my files. And here they are for printing. Put them up on a little bit of an angle. And from there I can slice them to print. Now, I don't think that this is going to be the final version of this design for a couple of reasons. One, I want to do a little bit more math on the sizing. It's a little bit silly, but I would like to get the proportions down a little bit better. Often what I'll do is I'll go into GIMP with some screen grabs and do measurements that way. You can measure exactly how many pixels and length things are, and from there get some pretty good proportions. If people are interested, I can do a little bit of a tutorial there designing my version 2 Prodigy badge. The other place where I want to refine is up here, and what I may do for that is actually draw a curved profile that follows the shape of the badge a little bit better, kind of curving the cutout as well as curving the surface of the badge. That said, I think this looks pretty good. In terms of the reference, if I come back over here to what we're looking at, like I can see obvious places where my 30-minute design differs, okay? One, the badge here appears to be taller than mine, although if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't hate the proportions on this. I kind of like the proportions on mine better, I'm not gonna lie, but having something that is accurate is, it has its own merit. The other thing that I'm noticing now that I look is that the edges of the star cutout appear to be filleted just a little bit as well. So I can hop back in there and do that, but you've seen me fillet stuff enough this video, so we can do that on screen. Anyway, all in all, for a 30-minute make, that's not bad. So makers, that's it. That's the basics of Fusion and a badge made in a half hour. That means that I can watch Discovery. So I'm gonna do that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you've been inspired now. Go make something.